Which one is this?
UNA University for me. UNA. Welcome to your paradise, the place you long for all your life. UNA University, manifesting all your dreams. With paradise, your land is home. Writing contracts on your own. Protect your loved ones every day. Knowledge goes a long, long way. UNA University for me. UNA University for me. UNA. Paradise, all your life. University, all your dreams. Land is home, on your own. Every day, long, long way. UNA University for me.
Yeah. Hello. Welcome, everybody. I'm yours truly, Diva Lyri, in the house representing with you. Representing for UNA Republic and UNA University. Welcome. Yes. UNA. Yeah, welcome everybody. I'm yours truly, Diva Lyri, representing for UNA Republic and UNA University, where we help you find your social freedom, your financial freedom, and most importantly, your spiritual freedom. We are here. Let's do it. Glad to have you here with us today. We are broadcasting live on YouTube, TikTok, and X, and at some point, Twitch. All right, so I want you all to know if anything happens on any of those platforms, find us at one of the others. But also know that this will be up live on YouTube, the whole entire session. I want to welcome Tora. Tora, girl, welcome, girl. Thank you for joining us. Blossom, welcome. Unc Z, welcome. Everybody else on TikTok, YouTube, thank you so much for being here. X, thank you and welcome. Let's do this. Once again, I'm yours truly, Diva Lyri. What are we talking about today? Listen up. Listen up. This is going to be a long session. All right. So go ahead and get your popcorn. All right. And let's have this conversation. This session is titled Breaking Generational Lies. Lies women have been conditioned to believe. Lies women have been conditioned to believe. We're going into it today. I have a wonderful guest with me tonight. All right, we're going to bring her up later. I got to get into some things right now. Y'all know what we got to do. All right, got to do some, make sure you guys know about our wonderful products and services. So we have the membership trust package. Now, some of you guys have a full understanding of how powerful this is. If you don't know, then those of you all who are searching to either correct your status or free yourself from the system or what have you, this is the most powerful tool. Now, let me rephrase that. This is one of the most powerful tools. The other one is your mind, which comes with an education. And I'm going to get into that in a second. But these documents here are a very powerful tool in helping you to maneuver throughout the system. Also, it not only comes with the documents, it comes with a membership badge with UNA. It comes with an allodial ID. And with this allodial ID, of course, it'll have your photo on it. It's going to have your spiritual name on it. On the back, it has a QR code, so that when you need to access your documents, you can always access them, because they're going to be on record with UNA. We also are going to put them on record with our county. And you can put them on record with your county, but we're going to make sure they get on record so that you're protected. All right. And then we're going to give you an even more powerful tool, which is the education, understanding what these documents are, why you file them, where you file them, why you're filing them, where you file them. So you got to know all of these things, because the paperwork is great to have. But it's, as I say this all the time, if you got a weapon, you got the most powerful gun on the planet, and a bear jump out at you and you don't know how to take the safety off, or you in big trouble. All right. This is like that. This is that most powerful weapon, but you got to know how to use it. Okay. And that's why we give you the education. If you're interested in this, especially my people on TikTok, name, number, email. People on TikTok, name, number, email. Leave that in the inbox and we're going to get to you. X, you can do the same thing. Name, number, email. Let us know you want to have the membership package, or you want to know more about the products and services of UNA. Name, number, email. My people on YouTube, find us at unauniversity.com. unauniversity.com. Okay. Also want to make sure you guys know we have the beginner law book. Okay. With this beginner law book, if you get the physical copy, it's going to come with an extra copy of the hierarchy of laws, an extra copy of the universal laws, an extra copy of the vibratory frequency chart. Now, all of these are inside of the book as well. We just don't want you tearing up the book. Okay, that's why we give you extra copies. We want you to put it up on your wall, on your mirrors, on your doors, all right, on your refrigerator, so that these laws can become a part of you. Also, if you get the physical copy, you're going to get a copy of the societal totem pole as well as the civilization cycle. These are very powerful in understanding what this cycle is. Okay, so if you want to get this, find us at unauniversity.com. I wanted to show you this also. The book is out. This would be considered my second book. It's titled Tapping into Your Supernatural Powers. Put this up on the screen for me, Savvy. Tapping into Your Supernatural Powers. Savvy, put this. Thank you. Okay, there we go. All right, so this is the book, Tapping into Your Supernatural Powers. This is very important. Women, especially, who want to regain your powers, you need to get this book. You're going to understand why you lost your powers in the first place, and then you're going to learn how to regain them. So, Tapping into Your Supernatural Powers, I want you to go ahead and get that book. Let's go, because I'm letting you know. Thank you, Savvy. Your powers are turning back on. You need to make sure you don't lose them again. Okay, so now, tonight, let's get into this. Breaking generational lies that women have been conditioned to believe. All right. So I've been having a lot of conversations with women lately about relationships and different things like that. And I need to say this because I don't speak on relationships. I deal with just knowing who you are. Okay. So we've been taught in this society, oh, you need to be with a man, or women think that they're not worth anything unless they have a man, and then they want to make you feel some kind of way because you're alone. And we got to talk about this because there's an issue. Now, all of this talk about a relationship outside of you, why is nobody talking about the relationship between you and yourself? There are women out here who can't even look in the mirror and say, I love you to themselves. How do you expect to be able to love somebody outside of you when you can't look at yourself and say, I love you? Then the next relationship that you should be focusing on is your relationship with source. Tapping into source. That's what this tapping into supernatural powers, that's what that deals with. So you have all of these people out here and they're telling you, oh, you need to be with a man and you need to be, but you have no idea who you are. You have no love for self. And we got to get into this. We got to get into it, because if you, until you know self, you can't really love somebody else. So I say, I don't speak on relationships as far as marriages and polymorphies and whatever. And I don't speak on that, because for me, my only focus is self, making sure that I uplift myself spiritually and then emotionally and mentally. So that's where I am. Now, I got to say this because I'm on a totally different path than most people. All right. I know people say, well, I'm different. Okay. I'm on a totally different path. So when I'm saying these things to you, let me make sure my camera is focused. Okay, that's much better. So when I'm saying these things to you, I'm recognizing that, you know, we have a different path, and I'm not telling you to walk like Diva walks. Diva has a walk. I'm not telling you to walk like I walk, but what I am saying to you is, please, at least before you get into a relationship, learn who you are first. That's why I say, don't let anybody tap into you until you've tapped into source. Now, let me go into this, because I've had a lot of people to come in and into the university, and they will say, you know what? Being in your class has really helped my marriage. I've had couples in the UNA University, and they will tell me, you know, being in your class has helped our marriage. And that's not what we focus on at all. We focus on making sure you know you and you have a relationship with yourself. But oddly enough, when they get the relationship with self in order, some kind of way, they have a better relationship with everybody outside of them, not just their spouse, their children, their mother, the people at the job, everybody changes their vibratory frequency, because this person has a relationship with self and source. All right. So let's get into this. I want to go, first of all, into marriage. And I'm going to bring my guest, Asha, up, who's been kind enough to come and sit in with us tonight. I'm going to tell y'all something. Being up here is not a joke. And so I want to thank Asha for coming through and being with us and being willing to share with you what's going on with her in her life and some questions that she had. So we're going to bring her up in a second, but I want to get on a couple of things and I'm going to bring her up. Marriage. One of the things when we're talking about marriage, women, and I've said this before time and time again, marriage was the woman going into slavery to the male. And I get it. It's upsetting because we have been taught you're supposed to have man, but what we're not recognizing, women, is that I have legal documentation, and we all can see this. We got etymological documentation. We got historical documentation showing that this planet was a matriarchal planet. And the woman lost her place. She was taken over and conquered by the male. Elmore, welcome. Thank you for the love. Shay, welcome, and thank you for the love. All my people in TikTok, welcome. The Milky Way, welcome. Thank you, Blossom. So now, getting back to this, the woman was conquered by the male. And one of the legal documentations I speak about, one of them is the Iroquois Confederacy. So the woman originally owned everything, all the land, all the wealth, all the knowledge, and everything else was in her name. This planet, once again, was run by women. It was matriarchal. And the male came into play. All right. Now, he started to take over, like really dominate, become dominant towards her. When we get into the 1000 BC on up into the 300 AD, where the Bible came into play. When the Bible came into play, it was a wrap. That was him rewriting the scriptures that were written by the Sibyls and the oracles. Women, those scriptures were rewritten. The characters were rewritten. There's so many things in society that tell us this, but religion, which was invented, the first Bible created in 325 AD, religion has told us as women, you are subservient. You are to be quiet. You are not to speak in the pulpit. When the woman is, she the one hold the first pulpit. The first classroom is the woman. So why would you tell her to be quiet? Okay, let's go into this. I want to welcome Genesis in the house and all my people in TikTok. Once again, thank you so much for being here. All right, hold on. Okay, there we go. All right, so when we're getting into this, we're 325 AD. The woman is not a victim. I need to make this clear. She's not a victim to her circumstances and going into imprisonment to the male. So at that time, originally, the woman was treating the male like he was a second-class citizen, because that's what it was. And she wasn't supposed to be procreating with him in the way that she was doing, because she had the ability to procreate on her own. This is why you know of all women tribes, like the Khalifa tribe, like the Amazon women. And I'm sure there are women over in what the territory we know of as Africa today. But these women knew how to procreate on their own, but they forgot. They became ignorant of self. Okay, so you've got, once again, talking about 1000 BC. And let me say this too. This wasn't just in the Americas. You can go over to Africa and see that there were women rulers in Egypt, but they were conquered. And what a conqueror does to the people who are conquered, they will rewrite the history. So the conqueror is going to rewrite the history of the people they conquered. And that's what happened with the women. I want to get through this so we can understand where we are. Now, when we're talking about marriage, again, this was her going into slavery or enslavement to the male. And we can see this because this is why she takes his last name. You've got to understand that a marriage certificate is ownership. A certificate, somebody gives you a certificate saying, okay, you own this. Yeah, that's why you're taking his last name. That was the origin of what marriage was and is to this day. So let's understand some things about marriage. When they get married, he becomes her husband. And what is a husband? A husband is a manager of farm animals. Well, who's the farm animal? Well, that would be her. Look up the etymology. Don't look up the definition. No, go and look up the etymology of what this term means. So now, when she has children, she gives him a family. Go and look up the etymology of the term family, and you will find slaves and servants. That's etymological proof of the fact that the woman went into enslavement. I need to go back because I told you, I want to make sure, if I didn't mention it, the Iroquois Confederacy, once again, is that book that showed you that women owned everything. So go and look that up too. So now you have etymological proof over here, and then you've got this proof over here, legal proof. Okay, let me continue. Because now when we're talking about a marriage certificate, it is used to allow him to do commerce with her across state lines. Commerce. When you used to look up the term commerce, you would find sex. That's what the term means. Now you look it up, you'll be good. The etymological definition of what it means, you'll be good if you find it. It'll say intercourse. But words have been changed to hide the meaning of what's going on in this dimension, to hide the lies that women have been conditioned to believe. It's slavery. It's enslavement. And I know some of y'all are stuck on marriage and, oh, what's it? That's what my mama told me. She said you got to find a good man. Okay. We're going to get into that too. And this is not a diss to anybody, whether you married or not, or straight or whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm just telling you what the facts are. So we're understanding from an etymological standpoint that marriage is enslavement of the woman. That's why you're taking on his last name. All right. So there's the etymological proof. There's the legal documentation showing this, because in that legal documentation, it also tells you that all of the land of the Americas belongs to the women. That's according to the original people of this land. And that's documented. So where did that come from if this planet was not matriarchal? I'm gonna go into something else. Let's go into nature. Nature. And I get it, because you all think nature, oh, those animals, we not animals. Well, guess again, because I'm ready. Let me move on, because I'm ready to get into this even deeper so that you can understand when we're talking about animals and nature and what that means. All beings have a nature. All beings have a nature. And then we're going to go just a little bit deeper today and understand who we are molecularly, on a molecular level, who you are. When we're talking about an X chromosome versus a Y chromosome, what is that? You got to know what they are. So when you're talking about a Y chromosome, you're talking about an entity that has a nature of fighting. It's a volatile entity, among other things that I won't go into right now, because I don't want the brothers to be offended. I don't want to just put that out there and then they not really understand the truth behind what we're saying here. Okay. And none of this is to bash. You just need to know what the facts are. And if you still decide to do this, once again, you're going to be able to have a better relationship with a man because you know the truth. All right, you going into this knowing who he is, knowing who you are, knowing what marriage is. Now we're dealing with nature, the beings that are not inhibited by the backwards rules of this so-called society. When you look in nature, you will find less than 2% of the beings that will mate with the same being for life. Less than 2% of the beings in nature mate with the same being for life. And even with that being said, you'll find most of the ones, even if they mate for life, that doesn't mean that they don't go off and sex somebody else. It just means that they with this being for life, just like penguins. Penguins will go off and, you know, they have a marriage over here on this continent. They go off to another continent. They getting with Sarah, but then they come back to marry over here, and we looking at like, oh, they made it for life, okay, but they were not monogamous. So bottom line, I'm saying monogamy is not even natural. And Y chromosome, period. The Y chromosome has a nature, and the problem is, I have to go through this because women have been taught lies and conditioned to believe things, and they're not respecting the nature of a male when they've been telling you who they are. They've been saying it. And so how fair is it of him to keep saying, hey, you know, this, I like this is what I like. And then you keep trying to force him into something different than what he told you he is. That's because society has conditioned you to believe that you're supposed to have something, and you're trying to get it in an unnatural way, and then it's causing damnation on you, your children, and your whole lineage. We're going to get into it today. I want to welcome everybody. Thank you for joining. Let me bring up Asha, all right? Because we're going to go deeper into this and understanding what the male is and some of the mistakes that we make when we're trying to have do business, when we're trying to conduct business. And when I say conduct business, from a handshake to having sex, you are conducting business. You are doing commerce. Let's get Asha up here. Hello, Asha. Welcome.
Hi, it's Asha. How are you?
Please put it on my mind. Asha.
Yes.
And I love Asha. Okay, so Asha, I want to welcome you here. So Asha is, we had a conversation, and we were speaking about, some of her concerns as far as life and men and what have you. And it was a very interesting conversation. And I asked her to join me because she's got some questions that I would like to speak on that a lot of women have that nobody is talking about. Okay. And before we start talking, I want y'all to understand this. Everybody out there, those of y'all who might be new to this channel, I need you to understand this. The things that I speak on, we go into proof, whether it be legal, etymological, scientific, natural, molecular. I'm backing everything that I say with facts, and I need it to be made clear. What I speak on is exactly opposite of what you have been taught in society. And this whole society is 180 degrees backwards. And until we get back to understanding who we are, this is going to be we can't clean this mess up until women get back to understanding who they are. So Asha, I want to start here. All right. And again, thank you for coming on, Asha. So we were talking about single mothers, and you were speaking about how society gives stigmas, and you had concerns. Can you speak on that, or speak on one of the questions that you mentioned to me?
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. I really do appreciate this time to discuss this matter. In regards to single womanhood and single motherhood, my concern is if the problem with how we're raising children is that the woman has removed herself from the village, from the women, and you're saying inherently the man is the problem when we try to cohabitate with him and try to raise our children. There is this stigma in our melanated community with women being single mothers, not having the father around. This is why the men are not as, I guess you would say, masculine. They're not as strong because they don't have their father figure in the household. So if I'm intentionally not bringing the man to help raise the child, where is the avenue for the grace for the women, for because we're already blamed in society for everything about single motherhood and not having a father figure for the child? How do you have a society that upholds the protection of the child when we're not having the father figure in place? Because we've
Okay.
been
All right.
taught that
Wait.
we need. Okay.
Wait. Okay. Let me answer what you said, because you said a couple of things. I want to get on them now.
Okay.
For me, I'm not saying that the man is the problem at
Okay.
all. As a matter of fact, and I'm going to upset a whole bunch of women, a whole bunch of women. The woman is the issue,
Okay.
because when she's in her right mind, first of all, she's going to be with someone who she knows how to conduct business with. All right. Now, two, what we were taught is that it's a two-parent household. right? And they're going to tell you that, oh, all these first of all, that whole children in prison come from single mothers. That is a lie. When you go and do the research, it's 42 to sometimes 46% of the people in jail come from two-parent households. The issue is not that there's got to be a male and a female. The issue is that there needs to be a village. Everybody knows it takes a village to raise a child. Everybody knows that saying, but we haven't seen a village since before patriarchy took over. Where does that come from? That is another matriarchal term, because what is the village? The village is her mother, her grandmother, her cousins, her sisters, her aunts, her nieces, her girlfriends. That's the village, not him. He was not in the village like that. And if a woman had a child or she gave birth to a child, then this was in the matriarchy time. He might see the child, he might not. If he wanted to see the child, he'd see the child. If they didn't work it out, then he didn't get to see the child, because remember, he didn't own the child. All of the child came from her. I know, he gave sperm, but here's the deal. Everything that comes from that child, it had to get resources from the mother. All the resources, when you talk about the skin and the making up the bones, and all, that came from the mother. So this is why when you look in law, or originally, everything belonged to the woman. So just getting back on this, what I'm saying is it's more on the woman more so than it is on him, because the power resides with the woman. And the problem is that she's giving it away. She's focused so much on him that she has no relationship with self. First of all, in society, the first thing we're taught as a woman is that, oh, you're supposed to have a husband and you're supposed to have children. I need y'all to understand. I'm gonna take, because I do a lot of research, and I don't want to go too far off topic, but I want to go back just real quick to when the settler, the so-called the Europeans, which were more melanated than Albions. But when they first came into the land, their whole thing was to set up all of these colonies, right? Their thing was they wanted families. And you know why they wanted families? Because they wanted people to be stuck in one position. They don't want you to be moving around, because they make money when you got a family and you stuck here. You're not going to keep moving your family around. They can't make money if you don't have a family. I need y'all to get what I'm saying. This is from when these Europeans first came in here. They was like, hey, they were shipping people over from other countries. And I remember I read a legal document, and it was talking about how this guy, he was responsible for bringing a lot of people over, and whoever it was who was running it and paying him to bring people in, he told him, he said, hey, look here, you brought all those single men in here. That doesn't do us any good. We need families, because these single men, all they're going to do, they're going to run around, and they're not going to be stationary. We need people who are going to stay stuck in this state and pay us money. I'm saying that so you can understand the game. So you can understand the game. Okay. So now we're understanding, and I want to just get to your point, because you're saying that women are being made to feel or stigmatized if they don't have a man. Let me start here. When you're single, right? As a single woman, what are you made to feel if you don't have a relationship?
Inadequate, less than.
Okay. They make you feel like, oh, she ain't gonna never have a man. They look down on you because you're not with a man. That is the problem. That is a problem. The minute this society made women feel as though they're less than without a man, that was we were going downhill right there. Because you think you're less than when you're the one with all the power. And I get it. Men are gonna be, I know some men are scoffing right now. And women ain't got it. Okay, watch this. If she tells him no, When he comes up and he's spitting his game and he's talking about, hey, baby, you sexy, you fine. And she's all, okay, it's good to meet you. And she says, thank you. And it's kind. She doesn't have to be disrespectful. But if she walks away from him, how can there ever be a baby daddy? Tell me. Hey, Asha?
Oh yes. Oh no. There's no way for that to happen. There's no opportunity for it to exist.
Okay, so this is my point. I've talked to too many women who've gotten into relationships with people, or men in particular, and she's having sex with him as though that's going to keep him. She has no idea who this being is. This being could be 100% rabid and demonic, but she goes and sleeps with him. And then at the end of the day, she want to say, well, he low down and dirty and all these other things. And then the problem is everything she's saying about him, she is also saying about herself. She can't tell me about who he is without telling me who she is. This is the problem. This is why I say you got to know who you are, because you're going to attract to you who you are. If you have no morals, if you have no value, then you're going to attract people, whether it be men or women, to you who have no value. And so a woman who thinks she has no value without a man, she is open and ripe for somebody to come and plant seed in her who she shouldn't even be interacting with. Well, are you feeling me what I'm saying on that? Because what I'm
Yes.
trying to tell you is accountability is what we're lacking. Accountability. A woman has all the power. You close your legs, he don't have no power.
Right.
He can't brag about you. He can't say, oh, I did. No. It's not gonna be no baby daddy. You the one who is in control. All right, go ahead, Asha. What do you think about that point, that topic?
Right. We do have all of the power, and it does stem from self love. But my concern is if a woman wants to have a legacy, she wants to have children. We understand that we are in a patriarchal society. We understand that there are certain norms and societal expectations for women and for men. But if we're not going to go, if we're trying to go against the grain and not abide by the patriarchal standard, what does it look like for us to raise these children without them being traumatized if
Okay,
they don't have both parents in the household?
right there. Now, you said I want to make this clear. You can still have a good relationship with somebody. Let's say there's a male that you have a relationship with, and you give birth to a child from his seed. Nobody's saying that you can't have relations, but it doesn't mean that he's got to be shacked up in your house either. See, we've been told that again that you're supposed to stay with him, but that doesn't happen in even nature. No females are going to allow a male to be up in their vicinity with a child. It doesn't happen because they respect his nature. That Y chromosome has a nature, and the other beings, they know better. They respect the nature of this male being. All this mama bear, papa bear, baby bear, that's just some garbage that the society has planted in our minds as women. It doesn't work
Hmm.
that way. Because at the end of the day, she already knows if I let him sleep up in here with me and the baby, he's going to wake up in the middle of the hibernation and eat that baby as a snack. She knows this. And I need this to be made clear. I need this to be made clear. Our children today are being devoured. You all might think I'm talking about eating up. But when I say devoured, I'm talking about molested, abused, mistreated. When you tell me about a two-parent household, but in the household, the man stays beating up on the woman, or the woman stays beating up and fussing at the man, what? That is hell.
Hmm.
Who you can't tell me that's not hell.
Right.
I've been there. I don't nobody want to grow up in no situation like that where there's just constant anger and frustration and disrespect. That's just as worse. And that happens in a vast majority of homes where there's just this fighting and this bickering, and you think they should stay together in all of that kind of negative energy. I don't listen. Again, when we're looking at nature and what's natural, other females know better. They don't do it. So here's my point. You're more, what I hear from most women is that they're more concerned about, oh, how they gonna look at me. I can't tell you how rampant that is, that women are so concerned that, oh, the world is gonna look, my mama gonna look at me like this, my daddy gonna, and the people and the men gonna be talking bad about me.
Right.
You gotta, again, when you know self, that does not concern you. When you know, and I can speak, now I don't have any children, but I can tell you right now, again, as I said, my walk is totally different from what these other people are doing out here. But if I wanted to have an offspring, if I wanted to have a seed, first of all, it's gonna be a girl. That's all it can be. That's all I would be able to give birth to is a girl, and we're gonna get into that next or whenever you're ready.
Okay.
But the only thing that I would be giving birth to is a girl. And if I wanted to be in contact with the father, then I would make sure the child knows the father, but that there would be visitation that would be very much monitored. Very much monitored. All right. And then I would know how to make sure that my rights stay intact with my child. All right. So it wouldn't be no, oh no, well, we both, no. I'm gonna make sure I put the rules down, and I'm gonna make sure that child knows that they're loved, and I'm gonna have a village. So that if I need help, see, this is the problem, and I'm going to let you ask another question. But here's the problem with this marriage. She originally came from the village, so when she had children, she had a whole mama, grandmama, auntie. I say we didn't have a village, not a we don't have a what we know of as a village. But for me, when my mother needed help with me, she had a village. My grandmama, her sister, and her girlfriends. So if she needed help, she had her village. When I went to my dad and he needed help with me, which was all the time, because my dad would come pick me up and he dropped me off with grandmama, which was cool. But I had a village. It was grandmama, his nieces, and his sisters, my aunts. That was my village. And I was never had any predatory things going on with me. I was always taken care of. But the minute my mother wanted to go off to another state with this being that she thought she wanted to marry, well, then you have this situation where molestation happens. That didn't happen when I had my village. And so now we're not respecting the nature of the male. And it's not me hating on men, because I don't have any issues. I've dealt with that. But what I needed to be understood is that you got to respect the nature of the male, and that's what women are not doing. You have to go back to the village, because that's where the protection is. And so people think it's supposed to be, oh, it's a two-parent home. But what happened when she got grandmama and auntie? And then let me say this too, because a lot of these people who end up in prison, they got no good people in their family taking care of them. They daddy was a drug dealer, a robber, a thief, a murderer. Sometimes their mama allow them to do that. Their mama know they doing drugs and they bringing the money back home. And she like, well, shoot, baby, come on, because we got to pay this bill. She's not being accountable. So then he ends up in prison, and nobody's respecting the fact that his whole family was jacked up. Okay, go ahead and ask me a question. Listen, I'm trying to make sure I get your questions out. Go ahead.
Right, but my concern is, again, it goes back to the single motherhood and the stigma with single mothers. And you see in the melanated community, a lot of the men grow up resenting melanated women, and they're upset that they don't have a father figure. And for you to say that we're going to do this without him primarily, what am I doing to set up another traumatized hypothetically, if I have a son, how am I contributing to his mental psyche being damaged because he
Okay,
didn't
one
have
thing,
his
one
father
thing.
figure?
Okay, one thing. You keep saying do it without him. I'm not saying that. I said you got to get the village to make sure that the child is taken care of. The father can still be there. Who's saying you can't see him? He doesn't have to live in the house with you for the son to know that he's got a father. See, these people that you're talking about, let me make this clear, everybody, and to my brothers out there who are going through this, I want you to know I understand. I love you. Okay, I respect you. But a lot of these guys out here who you see with all of this vitriol and disdain for women, they were abused. And this is what's not being talked about. So let me give this statistic. 1 out of every 3 women have had some kind of inappropriate actual relationship with an adult before the age of 18. 1 out of every 3. So I can go in a room full of women. I go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and 1 out of every 3 of those women, whether they willing to admit it or not, have had some kind of inappropriate actual relationship with an adult before the age of 18. They were mishandled. And by the same token, 1 out of every 4 males. And to my brothers who are going through this, I hope you find a way to tap into source, because you went through something traumatic. And you can't come out your mouth and say, oh, my mama did this. Oh, my auntie did this. My uncle did this. But you need to speak about it, because all women don't do that. But you have it in your mind because the person who abused you or mistreated you, and nobody ever saw it, but I see it. It's clear to me what you're going through. Tell somebody, because you shouldn't be taking that out on all women. And I'm not here to just tell the brother, because I'm talking to the women right now. I'm talking to the women today. But to my brothers who have gone through that, I hear you and I see you. I hope that you find a way to come to peace with what happened to you, because I know what it is. So let's be clear on this. When you have a well-adjusted child, and this means you got a village and they know that you have shown them love. The other thing that about these people, whether they got 2-parent or single parent, nobody was showing this child love. The ones who end up in prison. Of the ones who end up in prison, whether it's a 2-parent home, which is a high 42% or more, or it's a single parent home, nobody was showing the child love or attention. Nobody was correcting the child. Nobody was correcting the child. And you can say that regardless of how many parents are in there. If the parents, you can have 2 parents in there and one of them doing drugs and the other one selling drugs. And what kind of child you think you're going to have? That's a 2-parent home. And that happens a lot. So it's not about, first of all, I'm not telling you, oh no, you can't have a man, or you don't need him, or just leave him out. I'm saying first, this is number 1. Make sure you know who this male is. All right. Make sure it's not just you, it just happened. Boy, here it come. No, you should know who you getting with before you get with it. That would eliminate darn near 70% of the problems right there. Who you dealing with? You take some time. People, you tell people 6 months today, they be like, 6 months? Hey, ain't gonna wait for no 6 months. You don't know that this man is showing you his representative when he first get with you.
Right.
All right, he's showing you a representative. So either you're gonna respect who he is, his nature, or then you're gonna get bit. So if you know who he is, you know how he is, and you know that, hey, I got some questions for you. Let me ask you a question. All right, you said okay, tell me this. You were in a relationship, right?
Yes.
All right. How did you feel when you were in that relationship?
I was happier when I was alone. I would say that.
Right. No. I just want to know how you felt in that relationship. How did you feel?
I felt unhappy. I felt the constant need to defend myself, defend my belief system, um, a constant tug of war.
Okay. And then when you're single, how do you feel?
I'm at peace. There's no pressure. There's no animosity. Um, I'm a lot more grounded.
Okay. So then the question becomes, why would you want to give that up to be in a relationship?
For the children, it goes
Okay.
back for the legacy. What's
So
best for the children?
so let me ask you a question. Do you think your child, if you were in that relationship that you were in and you gave birth to a child and you just stayed in it and you stuck with it, do you think that child would be happy in that environment?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Um, no.
That's I just okay, so then you're at peace right now. Do you think if you had a child in where you the way you're living now and you've got support and anytime you need help with the child you have a support system around you, do you think that child would be happier in that situation?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so the reason why I'm asking you that is, why is it that you can't give birth to a male or give birth with a male or have someone else who has uh, planted seed in you? We're going to say it like that. Why is it that you can't have a relationship with them outside of your home where they have visitation rights and things like that, and the child knows their parent and they live in peace? Why is it that, because see, only thing that I hear from you is you're concerned more so about the stigma and not so much about the child. Let me not say you, because I wouldn't say you. I'm gonna say in general. When I hear women speaking about this, they seem more concerned with the stigma than they are about the condition of the child. Because if they were concerned about the condition of the child, they wouldn't be in a relationship that's very toxic, where they cursing and fighting and all this other things that's going on in front of their child. If they were concerned about the child, they would more so be ready to, hey, I find my peace when I'm over here alone. I can take my child over here. We can be at peace. He can still go and see daddy, but you need to come back home. Why can't it be that? I'm asking.
Well, we have the autonomy to do whatever we feel is best, and my concern is not every relationship is I guess you would say tumultuous, and my concern is it the male that you're saying that is inherently um what is the word that you used before, like a parasite,
Okay.
regardless. I'm not talking about dysfunctional relationships or what have you.
All right.
If you attract a better, when you work on yourself and heal personally and you attract a better mate, and this idea of a so-called divine masculine and things of that nature, and you have a better suitor, my question is, in that predicament, are you saying still the man is predatory at nature regardless of how, I guess, how evolved he is?
Thank you for
That's
that.
my question.
Thank you for that question. So, real quick, I want to welcome Vas and Elkiman, Roxy, Sandra. Thank you for being here. Um, I'm going to upset some people again. Now I'm going to upset the brothers. Brothers, I want you to know I love you. And I have to tell you this so you can go and look this stuff up for yourself, because I do a lot of research on the molecular structure of who we are. That's important, because when you understand, again, the more you understand about who you are, and especially your internal workings, the better you can understand everybody else outside of you. So when we're talking about a Y chromosome, it doesn't matter whether it's a human or a dog or a pig or a fish in the ocean, a turtle, it doesn't matter. It has a nature. And the nature of a Y chromosome, first of all, let's talk about what a Y chromosome is. It is a genetically modified. That means it's not natural. Unnatural, parasitic, recessive trait. or gene, unnatural, genetically modified, parasitic, recessive chromosome. And I'm not making this up. If you go look it up, you will see this. Just look up what is the Y chromosome versus the X chromosome. Everything derived from the X. Let's understand this too. The Y comes from the X. Originally, you had the X. And then a whole lot of the genes within this chromosome are removed. So it becomes a Y. So y'all have heard me say this before, my brother is my sister. And what I mean by that is that all males were originally female. And when those genes were removed from that other X chromosome, it became a Y. So you got 1,400 genes in this X chromosome, and then this Y chromosome has 100. 1,300 genes were removed. So let's understand that this now is an unstable chromosome, and it's very volatile. So let me get into this real quick, so you can understand from a molecular standpoint what's going on. He's got 36 genes. Let's see, 23 from the mother, 23 from the father. He's got 46 genes. One of them ends up becoming a Y. One of them. The rest of them are X's. But that one Y chromosome ends up coming about because of the condition of the mother. Because it's the woman, we're going to get into that chooses the sex of the child. So what ends up happening is you got this one Y chromosome, and let's understand from a molecular standpoint of what this thing is, it is going to fight against nature. Y chromosome is going to fight against the X. He, with that one Y chromosome and all these other 45 chromosomes, these are all X's. This one X right here, he's fighting inside of himself. Let's be clear. And don't believe me. Again, let me say this, because everything I speak, you can go and look it up for yourself. You can research this for yourself. The Y chromosome stays fighting within him. So if he's fighting the feminine within him, what you think he's going to do as a being? A whole being with Y's in his cells fighting himself, the feminine part of himself. He's going to fight the feminine if he's not in alignment with spirit. If he doesn't know who he is from a spiritual nature or source, he's going to fight her. And this is why you need to know who he is. If, women, you learn how to sit down and talk to a guy before, he will tell you. Some of these guys have already told you they really don't like women. Mm-hmm. They have a disdain, or some of them are abused. Like I said, the ones who are really talking that really foul vitriol towards women, they've been abused. And you should know who he is before you lay down with him. Because he's going to fight you. He's going to have sex. That's what the Y chromosome is telling him to do. The Y chromosome, its job is one thing only. Plant seed. That's the job of the Y chromosome. Plant seed. It's not about, we're going to marry you and we're going to take care of you. We're going to protect you. That's not what the Y chromosome does. Look at all of the other beings in nature. No other beings in nature, they want to tell you he's supposed to protect you. That's not what he does. He didn't do it in nature. He didn't do it in biblical history. He didn't do it in ancient times. He didn't do it in recent history. He's not doing it now. He's telling you who you are, who he is. You're not respecting his nature. That's the Y chromosome has a purpose, and that is to plant seed. And because it's so volatile, you think he's there to protect, that he will devour you. If he's not in an alignment, if he is not in alignment with spirit or source, he will devour you. He will fight you. He will take you down. This is why you need to know who he is before you get with him. A lot of y'all women think, well, he's supposed to be responsible. No, you are the one who's supposed to be responsible. You. It's all on the woman. Yeah. I know women are getting upset with me. Go ahead. What other question?
I totally agree. We do have to be responsible. And then my only concern next, if you're saying that the answer is the village and the other women, how do you speak to the women that, I don't know, who have a mother wound, who don't have the best, your first relationship with another woman is your mother, and women are not healed in that aspect. So they have a sort of I guess you would say not a hatred towards other women, but there's some type of, trauma with relating with other women. And I think that's why in this society there's so much hatred for women and things of that nature. But my concern is, if a woman is operating from that standpoint, how is she going to have a village?
Okay, thank you for that. So, one of the things that I've had to deal with, I've let me say it to you like this, because I deal with law, and I'm talking about spiritual law, and I know how these things work. Um, you've got one of the things is we have to be accountable. Period. You've got to recognize that whatever your issues are, they're coming from within. Even if you had something to happen with your mother or with your father, what have you, you've got to be willing to look at source. And one of the things that I find with women is that they refuse to be accountable, not only for what they're doing in this dimension, but things that they've done in the past. They don't want to recognize why certain things might happen in their childhood. They don't want to recognize who they are, and how the fact that they're spewing out energies, because they're looking at themselves as victims. So the minute women come out of victimhood, then they're going to attract the right women to them. Thank you for asking this question, because listen, I've heard women talk down about other women. They say, "Oh, all women are catty and all women are this," and I'm like,
Yeah.
who are you dealing with? Because I don't know women like that. The women I know, we uplift each other, we love each other, we respect each other, we build with each other. So I'm like, if you are getting those type of women, you need to look in the mirror. You are just attracting yourself. So the thing is, for me, the first thing we need to do is develop a relationship with self and love self. How you telling a woman to love somebody else and love another woman when she can't look in the mirror and say, "I love you, self"?
Mm.
So the problem is her. As soon as she cleans up inside, everything on the outside must come into order. It doesn't have a choice, because she's in order. Again, I'd say the woman is the one with the power. And once she stands in her power and knows who she is, the man got to come into order. Her children, her mama, the co-workers, everybody got to come into order. You see what I'm saying? I get it. Because
Yes.
this sounds like, I had somebody ask me this. Thank you. Let me say this one last thing. I had somebody ask me this. They said, "Well, what would you tell a woman who's in an abusive relationship, and she's just being abused?" Well, first of all, I can't tell her anything until she has made up in her mind that she doesn't care to be in that situation any longer. Watch this now, because I know I'm going to get some people upset in the audience. A battered woman is not a victim. I just want to let that sink in, because somebody's like, what? That, I'm going to say it again. Hold on. People in the back of the room. A battered woman is not a victim. And I've had people to call me insensitive. And the reason why I can't talk to her is because she's not ready to be accountable. She is in a victim state. But the moment she knows that, hey, I got the power, I'm just gonna leave. See, I'm gonna say this because I got somebody who's saying, "Well, no, she is not her fault because she can't leave it." Okay, all of probably the vast majority of us who are watching have dealt with a woman who was so-called battered, and we might have tried to help her. "Girl, I'm gonna bring you over to my house, and now you can stay with me." And then what ends up happening? She ends up going back. You can't even go over there and I'm gonna go beat him up because he did so. You know what's gonna happen? You're gonna beat him up, and then you're gonna go to jail, and then she's gonna testify against you for beating up him, and then she's gonna end up with him anyway. The problem is her. The problem is her. The minute she decides, okay, we're changing this. There's going to be something different here. I'm not going to be beaten up. I love me. I respect me. I deserve peace and kindness, and I deserve love. The moment she says that, her whole dimension must change. And I'm not just talking. I've dealt with people like this. So if she's in that situation and she's not ready to be helped, there's nothing I can say to her. But a woman who's ready to be accountable, then I'm going to talk to her. We're going to go to the next level. Because people come to UNA, yeah, they want to find their social freedom and their financial freedom. Yeah, but they got to find that spiritual freedom first. And once they get the spiritual freedom, then we can deal with the social freedom and getting them, and then we can get them rich. Because if you don't know who you are, mentally, emotionally, then you're not even ready for the money. You're not ready for the love. You don't understand that you're asking for the hell that you're living in. All right. Give me another question, because I got somebody in the audience who's got some questions too.
Oh, you can let the audience go. I'm gonna let that simmer in. That's a lot.
Okay, I'm gonna say this to you. Y'all gonna have to get this video and rewind it, okay? Because I'm saying a lot, and I get that. I try to break this information down in chunks, and this is why we have the UNA University, because we go even deeper. All right, we're not in the UNA University. We're going to make sure we walk you step by step, not only through your paper processes, but through your spiritual processes and understanding how to find love for self. That's the most important thing. And this is why when people come into the university, they say, hey, you know, my relationship with my husband got better. Yeah, because your relationship with yourself got better. Sandra asks, Diva, are you advocating for a more polygamous situation where the male would have other wives and children? I'm trying not to say a bad word when you say that. No, I'm not advocating for nothing. As a matter of fact, I'm advocating for you to close your legs. That's what I'm advocating for. I'm advocating for you to tap into self before you allow anybody to keep tapping into you. What I'm advocating for is to find your village if you got a child, and stop trying to depend on an unnatural situation, because it's not a natural thing, because a male is not supposed to be protecting and rearing and all. Okay, in nature, who does all the hunting for the child? Come on, Asha. Asha.
Yes, ma'am. What was that? I'm so sorry.
In nature, who does all the hunting for the child?
In nature with animals,
With
the
the other societies.
the
Don't
pardon?
call with the other societies. Don't call them animals, okay? Y'all keep calling them animals. They something more than what you think. But go ahead.
I'm
Yes.
sorry, but would that be the women or
The
I'm
females.
confused.
The
Yeah.
females do the hunting and the feeding of the child. When we're talking about, protecting, if a lioness comes upon a giraffe, who is the only one that's going to put their life on the line for that child? The
The
mother.
female. Yeah.
And when we're talking about rearing the child, the male don't be rearing nothing. That be the mother. What I'm saying to you is, they tell you, oh, he's gonna protect and rear, and he gonna feed it. That's not what he does. Not in nature. Not in nowhere. So what I'm saying is, these are lies that we have been conditioned to believe as women. And you got to understand, there is a matriarchy where we came from, and when it disappeared, this society was flipped around 180 degrees. So if you want to reflip it, you can't keep telling me about a patriarchal paradigm, but you want to be natural. There's nothing natural about patriarchy. Patriarchy paradigm, man, woman, child, that is unnatural. What? Diva? What you mean? Originally, those of us who study, those of us who know facts, we know that originally it was Christ, woman, child. Christ, woman, child, and the man replaced Christ with himself, and immediately the society was flipped 180 degrees because she forgot to tap into source, Christ. You call it Christ, you can call it Most High, you can call it God. You tap into source. She forgot about source. And so now I've got my friend here, who's that? Anisha. Anisha's asking me, you think it's to be polymorphic? You still focused on the man when you need to be focused on self. What I'm saying to you is when you tap into source, you're going to first of all have a different mindset. All right. It's not going to be, well, oh, I got to be with him, because you know, most women know and I'm testimony, because with my mother, when it was just her and me, it was peaceful. But then when she get with these dudes, all hell break loose. And a lot of y'all know that when you are by yourself, you find your peace. But the society is trying to make you feel like you less than, but here's the deal. Here's what's so funny. Women who are single, they go on to be more financially stable. They got a lot more money than your so-called married women, and your single men. They make more money. They're also going to be healthier physically. They're more fit than your single men and your married women. And see, when there's a whole bunch of, you got peace. She's more peace. She's happier. And I'm not telling you to not be married. What I'm telling you to do is stop focusing on him and focus on you. Become good with self, because these people are going to try to make you feel like the dumbest of the dumbest because you choose to be by yourself, because you choose to have peace and love and happiness. You can still, women think you got to shack up with him. I've said this before, and I'm going to finish answering this question. I said this before. I've had women to say to me, let me rephrase that. For me, what I've seen, the woman who I've seen do relationships the best, and I'm not a fan of it, I don't partake in any of that, but the woman who I've seen do relationships the best is the so-called cougar. All right. The cougar does it the best. Why? Because she doesn't have any expectations from him. She knows who he is, and she allows him to do what he's good at, and then she said, okay, thank you. She might give him some money. She might whatever she does, she cook him dinner. She might give him a bath, but she gonna say, this is what I need you for, and then once you're done, you can go. She's not trying to, who you with last night, and where you been at, and how long you been, and when you coming back. And she ain't even concerned about that. I got you here for one reason. This is what you're good at. This is what I need you for. Let's go, and then you can go. Now, I'm not saying that's great or bad, but what I am saying is, here's a person who has peace in her life. She knows what she wants. She gets what she wants, and then she lets him have his freedom so she can have her freedom. Paula goes on to say, a polymorphous situation where the male would have other wives and children, which he ultimately have to rotate his time between, and the woman and the offspring. Listen, you got to stop circling your life around a man. That's the problem. Don't do that. I'm not in agreement with that at all. If you in a polymorphic relationship and you happy in it, do you? But if you are in a situation where you find yourself stressed out all the time, and your only focus is a man and how he feels about you and whether he's coming back and when he's coming back, and you jealous of this other woman over here, that's madness. That's madness. Why y'all keep dragging this conversation? Sandra L., I don't know what you're talking about. This is the first time I ever had this kind of conversation. This works, y'all, Akashic Records. In denial, I need to be needed that way. Well, if you need to be needed by a man, then you got to check self. All right? When you have love for self, what all these other people out here saying, that is not going to bother you. Because see, listen, okay, I'm going to tell you about how I walk. I'm a nun. Nuns don't get none. All right, let's be clear on that so you can understand where I walk. I'm on a spiritual journey. I remember this guy asked me, he was like, he thought he was being funny, right? So he says to me, well, what you like? Men or women? What you like? Would you like? And I was like, neither. And then he paused. It was hilarious to me because he paused and he said, nah, you gotta like one of them. I was like, I'm single and I love my solidarity, my solitude. I love it. But he couldn't understand that. And it's not going to be for me to take on what he's saying because I know he's not talking about me. He doesn't know me. So I'm not, even if I had a child, it would be a child that I chose to have on my own. And if there was a man involved, I would be very restrictive of what he does with my child, and I would tell him up front before I even got him involved. See, that's the thing. For me, I'm sovereign. If I'm going to do business with somebody, I'm telling you up front, this is a business. I need you to do this, this, and this. And you can like it or you don't like it. But I'm going to put it down, and then you have the choice to say, I agree, I will be a sperm donor, or I don't agree, and then you walk away. But what I'm not going to do is leave it up in the air and make you believe something. I'm going to make sure you know from the top, before we even do business, any commerce, you're going to know where I stand as far as who you are as a being and as far as my role in this child's life. That's what I'm going to do. And that's what women should be doing. They don't know to do that because somebody told them they're not worth anything unless they have a man. Let me answer another question. Because she accepts her situation, criminal, just majority in law. They have one being a contributor to her in this demise. I don't know what they're talking about. Stop trying to depend on Muhammad to be a woman. They tell us to be submissive. I don't know. Dumacy, the woman animal. Sandra, I kind of want to bring Sandra on because she's saying some stuff in the comment section, and I don't know what she said. Diva, could you please speak on the woman determining the sex of the child? I'm only asking, you asking for a friend? Because I learned that males, mothers, so the paternal grandparent determines the sex of the child. Okay, so let's be clear about this, all right? The reason why they tell you that they can't determine the sex of the child until after 3 months is because it's a girl. All right, from the beginning, it is a girl. So let's be clear on that. It's not no indetermination or we don't know, it's unisex. No, it's a girl. And what happens is there's this, y'all look her up, her name is mitochondria. Look up the mitochondria. And the mitochondria are doing checks constantly throughout this pregnancy. At the beginning, from the beginning of the time the sperm hits, she's doing checks and she's regulating that vessel. All right, she's checking things, and this is the mitochondria. That's Mother Nature. Everybody talking about, well, Mother Nature said it. Mother Nature, that's the mitochondria, and she is not going to allow certain beings to come into this dimension unless she ordains it. So what's happening is she does a check first, and if you get the book, it's in the book, Supernatural, Tapping into Your Supernatural Powers. You can find that at unauniversity.com. But what she's doing is a check. Once the yolk sac empties back into the embryo, or that yolk sac goes away, then that's when the mitochondria goes into another check and all hell breaks loose in that embryo. At this time, now she's getting ready to start regulating. She's checking the state of the mother. She's checking, oh, is this woman in turmoil, or she's upset, or she's happy, or what is the state, the soil? She's the soil. What does she look like? And that's going to determine whether or not the mitochondria takes away those chromosomes I talked to you about, takes away those genes in that chromosome and turns it into a Y, or she's going to just make the other X dormant. This is why I tell you, women have two X's. One of those X's is dormant. He still got full access to this 100 genes. Meanwhile, she got 1,400 genes over here sleeping, fast asleep, that she's not tapping into. But the minute she starts tapping into it, and as a matter of fact, she's starting to tap into it. Y'all are seeing it, you just don't recognize it. When you see women's sports going on the rise and women moving up in this and women starting to take over, yeah, she's tapping back in. But if she doesn't understand and recognize her power, she's going to end up destroying herself. So let's get back to this. When that yolk sac empties back in, what ends up happening is the mitochondria is going to determine whether or not to degrade that X to a Y. So he's going to be degraded to a girl. So all this stuff about, what they call it, my soulmate. My soulmate he's a girl that's degraded. I just want to make that clear. It's not a diss to my brothers. Y'all go do your research. He's a girl that's degraded. He gets to have access to his 100 genes, but you got 1,400 genes over here that you're not tapping into. That's the issue. All right. So if a woman is in a degraded state where she's getting beat up in her marriage or relationship, she hates her job, she's not eating right, anything where she's mentally, emotionally unbalanced, physically unbalanced, then she's going to be likely to cause the degradation of that other X chromosome and turn it into a Y. All right. So it is the mother's condition, and you can go and do your own research. All right. You go do your own research. But I know when a woman tells me she's got a son, she's telling me a whole bunch of stuff in her past. Because I know law, I understand molecular structure, I know what I'm looking at. So a male means that she was in turmoil. All males come from chaos. A woman who is internally in chaos, that's what a male comes from. So when you look across this planet, then you see all these males. You're seeing societies where the woman is in chaos. I'm just telling you what the facts are that they have not told us. And now I'm saying this again. I know I'm upsetting some people. Go look it up. Don't believe me? Go look it up. I just watched a bird, and she built the nest, hatched the babies. Every morning she was running around finding food for the babies. She pushed them out of the nest and taught them to fly. Okay, thank you, Torah girl. Muslims think the woman walked behind them. Yeah, well, we know what Muslims think. Again, that's religion. All major religions are patriarchal. Buddhism, Judaism, Islam, Christianity, they all were a situation where the male stole her stories and wrote her out of her stories and then subjugated her. That's what religion is. It's a subjugation of the woman. You don't have to believe me. Go look it up. True madness, balance. Tell me what's true madness. You didn't need a man to be complete. Say it, girl, not me, babe. So Sandra is saying she needs a man to be complete. I get it. That's that brainwashing. That's that conditioning. And if that's what you believe, then ask yourself why you stay in turmoil. Ask yourself, why do you stay in relationships where you're constantly fighting and bickering and there's disrespect? Why? Why is it that you keep having all of these expectations when you can go out here and do it yourself? Well, I need him to help me pay the rent. You spend so much time fighting him, where if you were in your right mind, the money would find you. His mind couldn't go to the church slow. He's slow. Did anyone make it to the 12th grade? Okay. Sandra, I'm confused. Are you agreeing with what? Yeah, I know. Thank you, Genesis. Balance says, wow. Oh, sis, that's deep. Okay, what's the name of the book? It's on UNA. UNA university.com, and you can find it when you scroll down, tapping into your supernatural powers. All right. This texting, what did she say? This texting types that wants to slow down. Okay. Needing a man is madness. Agreed, balance. Stole the book. The eagles packed the nest. All right. All right, so now I'm checking my people on. Thank you for YouTube. Welcome all of y'all. Thank you for your questions. What are you teaching, Greg? Go back and get the video, please. You attract what you are. Thank you, Shay. Thank you, Shay. You attract what you are. My brothers, listen up, because I know this information is difficult, and I say this all the time. We should have been taught this stuff when we were young. I shouldn't be having to tell you that all beings come from feminine. Everything comes from the feminine. He is the feminine. And I shouldn't be having to tell you, and this is your first time in your life hearing that a Y chromosome is a genetically modified, parasitic, unnatural being. Unnatural, meaning somebody purposely created it. Somebody caused it. Now, it's the mitochondria that comes in and she perpetuates it. But this trait is not something that just comes from nature. It comes from somebody tampering. The mitochondria was tampered with. I talk about that in the book as well. All right. Okay, Sandra, you good. I got you. I guess the texting is causing hard. We was all confused, Sandra. We didn't know what you were talking about. Let me go into this. Asha, I want to go into violence. Talk to me about how some of the things that you've experienced or heard concerning violence in the home, or violence, and how do you think, if there's a situation where there's violence, what is your thoughts about how that should be handled by the mother?
Hello?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. I just heard you said something about violence, and I didn't hear the rest.
So the question is, when we're talking about violence in the home, and let's say this couple has children, what are your thoughts about what this woman should do as far as moving away from this man, or dealing with the relationship? What are your thoughts on what you think she should do concerning dealing with the relationship?
Well, for her to be safe and for the children to be safe, for her to have a safe exit plan, a strategy to get away from the person who's creating the violence, just the safety of herself and her child.
So originally, what would have been your thought? Let's say you had ended up in that situation. Would your thought have been to stick it out, or to take other actions, considering what you have been taught?
Well, to be honest, I would just say that I wouldn't attract a situation like that because I don't believe I deserve violence or physical abuse. I wouldn't put myself energetically to be in a position like that. Um, that's just my personal opinion.
No, that's good. First, let's start right there. Let's go into that, because now you're talking about the spiritual side. When we're talking about energetically, what is it that you do to make sure that you shouldn't even end up in that? Because that's what you just said is power. That's a woman who's taking her power and saying, well, you know what, that's not where I'm supposed to be anyway. So what is it that you do that makes sure you don't end up in that situation?
I just follow my intuition. I truly believe that we always have signs, whether we're aware of them or not. There's subtle signs that the universe is trying to show you. And just I would speak to my spiritual team, my I have a spiritual team that I believe in. I will believe my universal mother. I would speak to her. I would ask for guidance, basically my intuition, a gut feeling about any type of fears I may have about a person. I would listen to them. I would not try to rationalize it in any type of capacity, no matter how much I'm attracted to the person or I may like the person. I have to listen to my intuition at all times.
Good. All right. Well, listen, did you have any questions for me before you got, I want to thank you too for coming in. Did you have any questions, any other questions that we touched on? And as far as, motherhood or where children or where the males come from or any disagreements or anything you want to touch on, I want to hear it before you get out of here.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much for having me again. And I just wanted to know more information about I care about my children, my legacy, my bloodline. I understand as a matriarch, we have the full responsibility of making sure that it's successful or not. And I understand this entails full responsibility. So that's something that I'm going to work on gradually every day. Um, my concern is the child's psyche, and more so society is not shaped around matriarchy. And if I'm doing this on an individual basis, I don't want to scar my child in any type of capacity because he or she may look at other families and they have two parents, and I don't want them to feel as though they're lacking in some type of way, or we're different, or we're odd, or I don't want to put my child in a position to be ostracized. I don't want them to feel as though I'm in some type of way harming them because, oh, everyone else has their mom and dad. Why is it just me and you? And I know you're not saying we shouldn't have the man involved, but I'm just thinking about the societal picture, and I understand that's not reality, but that image won't leave me. So that's something that I'm working through. I just don't want to harm my child. That's
Right.
basically
Were
where
you
I
were
am.
you ostracized as a child?
Um, I wouldn't say in the family, no, I was not, but I guess you would say outside of the family, in some aspects, I was because I was different. I was a free thinker, things of that nature. But I don't think that has anything to do with my upbringing, or maybe it does. But what I'm trying to say is the societal pressures of
No, no,
families
I
and
got you. No, I got you.
right,
I was asking you that for a reason. I got exactly what you're saying. I was asking you that for a reason. Were you ostracized? Because all of these concerns they sound like fears and they sound like
yes,
something that you went through. And I need you to understand, everybody gets ostracized. Everybody gets picked on. Even when you look at your the ones who in the high class or the famous ones in high school, eventually they get their energy too. But one of the things we're not understanding about energies, like when I talk about that a child is an old spirit coming back in a new vessel, one of the things we're not understanding is that your child, listen up, people in the back of the room. Your child has been creating even now before the sperm hits. Your child is creating right now. If you decide to bring that entity into this dimension, it's already been created. And that's the thing we don't understand about this spiritual aspect. So if you're bringing in a being into this dimension, you've got to understand that you created a vessel, but that spirit has been here and it's just returning. So it's got karmic baggage. You got to understand what kind of baggage you bringing in here That's why you got to get yourself cleaned up first. Once you get cleaned up and you bring in, you're in your right mind spiritually, emotionally, you're going to bring in a balanced child. You're going to bring in a balanced child. But if you are in a situation where there's fighting and there's fussing and there's all this other negative energy going on, well, you likely to bring in a boy. And that is telling that you're bringing in chaos. So when you're talking about, your fears or what have you, most children do go through that kind of situation where they get picked on. But when you got a loving family, did you have a loving family? You grew up in a 2-parent household?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So you had a loving family though? Or
To
no?
an extent, and I get what you're saying, the matriarchal side, because when I think of my mother, that was the part that was loving, not so much the father aspect. So,
So when you look at your, and I won't go too deep into this because I don't want to, I don't want to go too deep into your personal, but just real quick, on the surface, when you talk about your family, you're saying you want a man in the house, but then you just sat here and told me, well, my mother was loving, but my dad not so much. Was that a good situation for you? Because it sounds like you had two parents, but you want all that. I don't want to put words in your mouth. Tell me, would you want to have that same exact situation for your child? And if not, why?
no, I don't. And what I'm talking about with my mother, this is why I'm saying, as the women, we have the full responsibility. In my opinion, she didn't choose the best father. So, had there was if there was a different father, I would think that that setup would work. But she didn't have the best, I guess you would say. I don't want to blame my mother, but I just don't think that she made the best decision. That's why
Good.
I'm saying, is it inherently that all men are the way that you're describing, or are you saying that there's a divine masculine, that if you do the self work, you do the self love, you have your village, you can make it work with a healthy masculine? That's more so my question.
Not when he's not. It's going to be more difficult when he's in the house. You're really stating what I've been saying, because you said you had a 2-parent home, but you weren't all that happy as a child with him being there. You had love from your mother, but you're saying your father wasn't all that. What I'm saying to you is not that I don't know what your dad did, or how he didn't show love, but what I will say is this: in most cases, even in a 2-parent household, it still ends up being the mother doing
Right.
more than 70% of the work. And so if you have somebody there who, not only do you have to be a mother for the child, you got to be a mother to him too. Well, it's draining.
It is draining.
But if you had a village, then the child is going to be protected. The child is going to be taken care of. It's going to be loved, because the women are more nurturing. Not to say that men can't be, but women tend to be more nurturing. There's a whole bunch of, oh, I'm a daddy's girl. Okay, I get it. But women tend to be more nurturing. So if you're sitting here saying to me, well, I had 2 parents, but I wasn't really all that happy, and then you're telling me about how you're concerned about, what people think, the love, you got to get the self-love. And then when you do decide to give birth, that child's going to be very much in tune, because you're going to teach them. You're going to make sure you show them the love. All these people that end up in prison, these some people who didn't have love. I'm telling you that. Or they grew up in a household full of people who were doing all kind of negative stuff, whether it was robbing or stealing or drugging. They were doing all kind of negative stuff anyway. So they were on the path to that because of who they hanging around. Nobody's talking about that. All right. So what I'm saying to you is, I think, and if you ever want to talk about it, but you might want, you sounds like you want to, there's some forgiveness need to be done. All right. But now that you're working on yourself, if you ever do, you're going to first of all make sure that you map out the situation, right? Watch this, watch this. Here's where I talk about women having power. Instead of you just meeting somebody and then hoping for the best, you have the right to map it out. You got the right to say, okay, I want my life to be peaceful. I want to live in this place, in this kind of neighborhood, where I send my child in this kind of school. And you've mapped out, okay, this is how much it's going to cost. And then as far as relationships, you can say, okay, I got a village. Or you can say, and by the way, a village doesn't mean that the women got to live with you. That's not what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, I understand.
Yeah, a support system. So you say, okay, I got a support system here, and he can be a part of the child's life, but you are mapping out, again, you are putting in control, or putting into existence and in writing everything that you desire to see, what your vision is. All right, so he gets to see the child on this day and this day, but he need to have a mama involved. You definitely want to have him to have a mama. All right, because I wouldn't listen. I'm going to say this. I know I'm going to upset somebody, but listen. Men know who men are. Men know who they are, and they tell you all the time. And I would not be suggesting you leaving a child with a man alone. I don't. I'm just being honest. And of all the things that I've seen and heard as far as, actual molestation and all of these things, I know, oh, he's the daddy. He would never. You're not respecting who he is and what his nature is. Men have told you who they are. You need to learn to respect it. So, yeah, I would have him in the child's life, but I would be very cautious and certain about the things that happen with this child and him. That's just me. So that's what I would suggest, because you as a woman, you've got to start respecting his nature. And once again, no beings on this planet leave their child in the hands of a male. The vast majority, you might have 1% of the population on this planet. All the other women, they like, no, dog, we good. They're gonna leave it with the women, which is the pride. Elephants do it, lions do it, giraffes do it, everybody else do it, but humans, because of these backwards societal rules. So my thing to women is this: know yourself. And even if you do decide to deal with a male like that, even if you do decide to deal with him, it's going to be somebody who is worthy of planting seed in you. Let them be a worthy person. You need to take time and know who this is. Otherwise, if you're just trying to get with somebody because you want to have a child, that doesn't mean you have to live with them. That doesn't mean you have to shack up with them, especially when you have recognized that there is no peace in this. And I already told you what marriage is. Marriage is where the woman went into and enslaved it to the male. You don't have to believe me. Look it up. All right. So I hope that made sense. I know, because now that you know what the facts are, it's a matter of being willing to change the mindset. We've been taught religion. We've been taught a lot of lies. And it is very hard to come out of those lies, because everybody wants to say, I want to get back to nature. But then you want to keep saying man, woman, child, which is not natural. All right. So if you're serious about it, you've got to start unlearning the lies and being willing to take on another mindset, and also tapping into self. All right. I hope I answered your questions on that. I thank you so much too. I thank you so much for being here, and your questions, your feedback on it, because I think a lot of women appreciate, hearing you ask the question, because a lot of women have the question. They just won't say it. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. So Asha, this was Asha, and she has been wonderful here. I want to thank you, Asha. And so we're going to let you go, and then I'm going to go ahead and get into the rest of this. Anybody, if you have any questions before we get out here, thank you, Asha. All right. So if you have bye-bye. If you have any questions on anything that we've spoken about here, let me know. I want to remind you all that the book is out. Put this on the screen. Put the monitor on the screen for me, Savvy. Uh, so don't forget that the book is out, Tapping into Your Supernatural Powers. You can go to unauniversity.com. Again, we talk about all of this stuff, how the woman is the one who determines the sex of the child, and it has to do with her state of mind. All right, so go and get that book. Don't forget the beginner law book is there as well. Thank you, Savvy. And then don't forget about the membership trust. All right, if you all have any questions on that. Read When God Was a Woman by Marilyn White, or Stone the Name. Did a term paper, excuse me. Heard These Religion Weight She May Have Written Concerning Battered Women. Check it out, proof. Okay. She even talked about the Medusa, lady with the snakes in her. Okay. Sandra. Okay, so listen. What we talking about when we're talking about, again, I went into battered women and what that is, and the fact that there is no such thing as battered women. What's happening is a woman is not standing in her power. And the moment she recognizes who she is, then she comes out of that. I've seen so many women who are in their victim state and they are refusing to be accountable. Women, you were conquered. You were conquered. If you want to come out of that, if you want to regain your power, then you got to be willing to be accountable for these energies that you're spraying all across this planet. And that's been the problem. All right. The one thing that I do want to say as well before I get out of here, one of the things that we don't do, as much as I'm giving you these facts about what the Y chromosome is, I'm stating what the facts are. All right. This is not about downing our brother. And again, I say this to women because I get them coming up saying, men are weak. And I always knew that. Don't do that, because when you're saying something negative about them, you're talking about yourself. There's no two ways about it. You can't speak negatively about him while trying to uplift yourself, because you're only downing yourself. So one of the things that we do here, we focus on this. We're too focused on self to diss anyone else. We're too focused on self to diss anyone else. This is not about dissing him. It's about tapping in the source and regaining the relationship with self and source. That's it. And once you get that in order, you won't have to diss nobody, because you're going to be too busy working on yourself. You're going to know when you see somebody in your dimension doing something that, if I'm saying that, I got to work on me. You're too focused on self to diss anyone else. Okay, I hope y'all appreciated this session today. Once again, I want to thank Asha for coming in. Listen, we are in a new dimension. Women, you are regaining your powers, all right? If you want to hold on to them, you better tap into source and have a relationship with yourself. Otherwise, you're going to destroy yourself. We don't want that. We're going to keep walking high. I want y'all to know I love you. Diva Lyri, I'm going to be out of here. Peace. Give me a hug. I'm out. Bye-bye.